I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Strange Weather. A grieving mother sets off on a road trip with her best friend to confront the man she believes stole her late son's $1 million business idea. So this movie came out back in 2016. It's an hour and a half long. It's one of those independent drama type movies. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So we started with Darcy, who's picking on her best friend Bird for getting farming equipment at Walmart. Next day they go riding out and they talk with this guy named Clay. So Darcy's supposed to be some type of academic administrator, and she's got a bachelor associate's degree, but she's trying to move up in the rankings. And a certain certificate is supposed to get her a better position. They asked her if she had any dependents. She was like, no. And that's kind of a sore subject for her. Well, anyway, she's having a conversation with her homegirl Bird and her girlfriend Gina that's on the left. Then afterwards, she goes grocery shopping. Ends up running into this guy, Kevin, that used to be friends with her son, Walker, and his wife, and now working on their third child. They got all boys. Once again, she's happy for him, but like I said before, that's a sore subject for her. They said they're going to be in Georgia for a little bit, but tomorrow they're going back to Birmingham. They don't really tell you in words, but that's when we really find out her son died. Throughout the whole movie, she's setting up her garden, basically just sitting back and reflecting on her son. And she's got a little dog, too. Later on, she calls up Bird, and she's looking for prospects about something about her job. And they talk about this guy named Mark who's worth like $5 million. He owns a chain of hot dog companies called Dog House, but it's spelled D-A-W-G House. And that triggers Darcy something crazy. Now, it triggers Darcy because that's what her son wanted to accomplish. Actually, he wanted to call his company a dog house, like exactly word for word. Because no matter what she tried to get Walker to do, he always wanted to run a hot dog stand or a company. And Mark and Walker knew each other, so she's thinking to herself, Mark stole Walker's ideas. So she meets up with Clay at the bar, they get to talking. Apparently they do more than that because he ends up giving her the business. So yeah, they were real close to each other at one point in time. Then she brings Bird over, they start looking at pictures. This one particular picture had Walker in the middle, that's her son. Mark was to the left of him, Kevin was in the picture, and the guy all the way to the left is named Buford. So now with this newfound knowledge about Mark, I guess she's got some unfinished business to settle. So next day she heads over to Kevin's mom's house. She's like, yeah, I'm glad you came by, but Kevin and his wife then went back to Alabama. So she asked her for Kevin's number and she got it. Then Darcy meets back up with Bird and Gina. They start going to the internet. I think they were trying to look for more information on Mark. Then she heads on over to Clay's place and she asks him for this bag. At first he's resistant to it. He's like, nah. Turns out it's some type of police evidence bag. And I'm like, what the fuck is in there? Then he heads up to this guy's house named Daniel. Apparently this used to be one of Mark's old houses. He tells us some stockbroker just pays the rent on it every year. He ain't got to do shit. He gives us some information about Buford, and this is where we find out that how long her son has been dead for. He's been dead for 7 years. Walker's been dead for 7 years, so what the fuck does she think she's going to figure out now? Well, he tells the story about how they were all at the house that day, because all of them in the picture were at the house. And when he left, Walker was carrying with him a box of bullets. And Mark and all them niggas used to get coked up and shit. So now we're thinking to ourselves, did her son really commit suicide, or was there some foul play in this shit? So she goes back to her house and starts looking up the website again. And we found out there was a gun in that evidence bag. Apparently it was the gun that Walker killed himself with. And she's looking at Mark's story and it's very similar to Walker's business plan. In fact, she thinks he stole it word for word. So now she goes up to the bar and meet with her friends. Her and Clay have a heated argument. He's like, man, I don't want you to go, you know what I'm saying? He's like, what you gonna do when you get down there? What you gonna do, shoot him? And we find out they were together in the past and he actually asked her to marry her. But she turned him down. So at the end of the argument, she slaps him and then walks off. Don't get it twisted, he's trying to protect her from herself, and the friends know that too. And she knows she's got a hell of an opportunity in this job to look forward to, but she can't just ignore the past. Basically, in her heart, she needs some closure for this shit. So Darcy and Bird are packing their bags so they can go to New Orleans because that's where Mark is, and Gina's gonna watch after Darcy's dog. And Bird's just going because basically that's her best friend, but I don't think she knows what her real intentions are. Until she stops at a gas station to buy some sunglasses, she tells her to go in her wallet to get some money, and she ends up finding a damn gun in there. She's like, nigga, is this Clay's gun or is this the gun? She's like, look, I'm rock with you because you my homegirl, but whatever crazy mission you're going on, we're not doing that. But she gonna ride with her regardless because maybe she could talk Darcy out of this shit. But on the way, they stop off in Birmingham. They go to Kevin's office, who's hesitant at first, but then gives her a little bit more information. That's when he tells her about Buford. Like, she didn't know who he was, but he did happen to be in that same room when everybody was there. Next, she goes to see this chick named Marcy that she hasn't seen since grade school. They get to reminiscing and drinking and all that. Then we find out about this guy named Wes. Wes is actually Darcy's baby dad, and he used to beat on her something terrible. They had a ridiculous relationship. But she finds out from Marcy that he's in a nursing home now. He's like 70 years old. So next morning, Darcy goes out looking for Wes. Apparently, she did it while Bird and Marcy were still asleep. She finds Wes just chilling outside. I'm not sure what he's got, but he doesn't respond to her at any level whatsoever. I don't know if he's got Alzheimer's, dementia. I'm not sure what it is. But with everything she says to him, he does not move from that position. Afterwards, she gives him a kiss and goes on about her business. Because even after all this stuff he did to her before, she just feels sorry for him now at this point. Now, we never really know the full relationship, but if you watch the movie, you'll get the gist of it. Then when Darcy comes back, she gets a package from Gina. Bird's girlfriend. And I don't know how she got that, but it was Walter's plans for making a hot dog company or starting up his own business. Yeah, where the fuck did that come from? You would think Darcy would have her son's belongings after he died. Like, where did that come from? How did she get it? All this did was give her more ammunition to go at Mark. But once again, her son died like 7 years ago. So she makes a phone call to her job to give her an extra couple days. And Marcy also gave her a fake name to get into the building, call herself Angie something. And she's going to pretend to see Mark for a job or application. As they're driving, they're hearing about floods in Louisiana, raining and all that stuff, and this one road happens to be closed. So the officer tells her she's got to take this long route, she's got to go past this church or something like that, under this bridge. And this is where they're looking for Buford. As you can see, everything's been torn down, terrorized. So they stop at this church that doesn't even have enough space for people to live at. And she ends up finding Buford. She's asking him questions. Buford like, man, that was such a long time ago. Like, look, I got important things to worry about. Like, trying to get his family together, trying to find himself another home. Like, he's living in the fucking church right now, which they're about to kick him out of. It's crazy. Then he tells her about how Walker was trying to borrow money. Then he tells her something about how Mark was actually followed him or walked him home when he was carrying those box of bullets, supposedly. He said Walter complained about being a failure and Mark kept egging him on about killing himself. But he said that allegedly because, like they said, they were all high up on coke. So her mindset is like, yeah, I definitely gotta go see Mark now. And I'm still wondering if Walter killed himself or was there some foul play here. She gets back to the hotel, starts reading over her son's business plan again. Then she puts it under her pillow and lays down. Tell you why that's important in a minute. Then Darcy and Bird go out to have a smoke. Then she starts mentioning the good old days about her son. She's talking about certain things, and then she talks about this birthmark. And then Bird interrupts, is like, yeah, the birthmark looks like a tattooed smile. Then Darcy's like, how the hell do you know that? This birthmark is around his private area. Oh shit. Bird gave Walter the business at one point in time? Oh shit. So Bird starts explaining at that time, like, look, he was 23, I was 32. And she starts going in on all this little backstory about him being alone and all this other stuff. And Darcy's just sitting there taking all this in. The crazy thing, her girlfriend knew about it too, and she's okay with it. Trust me, it was a wild-ass conversation. Now, she didn't have any ill will towards Bird, but Bird gets back on a bus, and Darcy's like, man, I gotta do this on my own. But as she's riding around, she totally forgets something, which she just realized when she was watching this boy ride his bike across the street. She left Walter's business plans under that pillow. The maids came through and cleaned that shit out, so you know the garbage men that got that, it's done. Like, she's digging in the garbage trying to look for it, but she's looking at it like, man, they already picked that up by now. So at this point, she's just all distraught. But she finally made it to Mark's building. So she goes in ready for her quote-unquote interview, just patiently waiting. And here we have Mark, who doesn't even recognize her. He just thinks she's some girl named Annie. And they're just sitting across face to face. He has no idea what he's in for, and I can't even imagine what's going through Darcy's head right now. So they were bullshit chatting a little bit, but then Darcy breaks down and tells her who she really is. It's like, oh shit. And she wants to know what really happened that day. At first he tried to call the cops. He's like, man, get that shit out of here. Then he breaks down exactly what happened. The thing is, he didn't know Walter took a box of bullets with him. Now, he did ride in the car with him to take him home. He said he berated him a little bit, which kind of egged Walter on. But he was just joking with him. He didn't think he was actually going to do it. And he basically admits to stealing Walter's plan. He tells her he basically didn't have anything else. He was trying to impress his parents and stuff like that. Then she pulls out the gun. I'm like, oh shit. He explains about the whole door situation. He said he had to show up for something for his dad. Then it got to a point where we thought she was going to kill herself. This shit got real intense. And then Mark stops her from killing herself. He takes the one bullet out, puts it on the table. She takes her gun and walks out the door. As she's driving back, she tosses the gun in the river. And she drives to this field of flowers that's being watered on, having reflection and a moment of clarity. She finally makes it back home. She goes outside and we found out there was also a shirt in that evidence bag. She buries his shirt in the backyard and starts talking to him. Next day, she rides with Bird. She's got the promotion for the job. Everything's all good and gravy. Before she makes it into the job, she sees Clay. Just gets out and hugs him. And that's the end of the movie. Now, do I feel like she could really put all this stuff behind her? That's to be determined. Now, the loss of a loved one hurts. You can never get over that. But after a 7-year span, how did all this other evidence start coming up? Well, it's not really evidence because her son did commit suicide, so. But yeah, man, that was a wild ride. Strange Weather on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You know what time it is. Slick DZ, all DZ, Mr. 6 big. You the goddamn slogan.